The way you look is better than ever. The love I get, the love you took. The way you look is better than ever. The sun will shine. Now you're mine. And the ray of sun shines on my face when you love and I embrace every moment with you. So baby, won't you come and love me now? Your dance on my head, a woman, like you said, every moment with you. 'Cause when you love me, it's better than ever. In the moment you're mine, it's better than ever. The way you love, the sun will shine. In the moment you're mine, it's better than ever. Now you're mine, the sun will shine. Sun shines on my face when you love and I embrace every moment with you. So baby, won't you come and love me now? And do your dance on my head, a woman, like you said, pretty baby. 'Cause when you love me, it's better than ever. The way you look is better than ever. The love I get, the love you took. The way you look is better than ever. The sun will shine. Now you're mine. And the ray of sun shines on my face when you love and I embrace every moment with you. So baby, won't you come and love me now? And do your dance on my head, a woman, like you said, pretty baby. 'Cause when you love me, it's better than ever.
Love the rhythm in that song. I love the guitar tone. He's got to be using a Vox amp, especially on the little descending part with the crunchy chords going down. Sounds great. This is the kind of stuff that, I like. So I believe this is from, I know this is on the CD pronounced Faure. And that's around 2000 that comes out. When was everything recorded? I don't know. But the thing I want to say about that, and there's a Rick Beato video I'll try to find that I'll point people to that I think is a fascinating video. Like, in the United States, music with this kind of tone was only available in what people were calling indie or alternative at the time, but was actually big label stuff. But after all the radio stations became part of huge companies, they homogenized the sound of everything that was being played on the radio, and producers in the mid-90s were also homogenizing the sound of guitars, and they sounded like crap. I couldn't stand it. I was riding in a car with someone, I'm not going to mention who, around that time, and they had this radio station on, and it was one of these radio stations that had been gobbled up. And the music was so bad, and every song sounded like the previous song, production-wise. The guitars were heavy with absolutely no space to them, no dynamics at all, right? And so we can be excused as listeners that maybe we didn't hear the song on the radio, and this song that is an obvious hit, whether or not it's on the charts or not, it's an obvious hit. It sounds great. And, things really did change. Like, this is a really, really big topic. We're talking about Duncan Faure today, folks. I know I'm already off. But I want to say, the United States, before the changes that Bill Clinton made, was always kind of a hotbed of modern music and small regional hits suddenly taking over the entire country, and then new genres of music popping up all the time. Those days, I say, are mostly gone. Most of the stuff that comes out is just reminiscent of the past, if it's decent and it succeeds, right? Anyway, but also I can say, anyone who had great songs like this and a great CD like this, and if it didn't chart, it's certainly no fault of yours or your music. It's just that the world had been corporatized. It was already bad enough with the major labels that we needed independent labels all through music history. We've had independent labels, and it became more important to have that independent stuff once the radio stations were kind of taken over, right? And I'll put a link to maybe the act that was passed that kind of changed all that, or maybe at some point I'll put like a picture in this video of the pertinent part that changed what happened and why things got so bad. But let's talk about the music. Wow, great song. Fantastic songwriting, great guitar tone. I like the production on it. I think it's just great. We're talking about the Anthology. This is part 2, Duncan Faure's Anthology double CD. And I'm also mentioning the CD that it originally, I think, was released on. So many great songs on that CD. And I really had to... I was going to start with a different song, but I'm glad I started with this one because it was such a... it's so catchy, and it's so pop-oriented, but it's also so good, and it's got enough depth. That's what I really look for when I'm listening to music, to be honest with you. If you don't have that, then I head more towards deeper music. But the best for me is when you have something it's got some pop, it's catchy, and it's got hooks, and it has depth, and that's what we have. But originally I was going to start with the song that I'm going to play Actually, I'm going to play this whole song. And I may have to pause here because I want to read something about it. But the song is called Brother. It was originally going to be, or was, the Blue Bottles featuring Duncan Faure releasing this. And from what I understand, there was supposed to be an album. I don't know if that ever materialized or if that became what the album Pronounced Faure was. But it's a great song. And I was going to start with that. And by chance, Sammy, let me pause so I can pull this up because I find it really interesting. Yeah, so Samantha Cavalier, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Samantha, had posted like a lip sync of singing this song Brother by Duncan Faure. And Duncan had come across it, and he posted, "My brother will always be a larger-than-life person in my life. He loved Michelangelo as a kid, and he brought some of that magic into his film career. Paul McCartney wrote, 'Loved Shaka Babe' to my brother Bill, referring to his 10-hour miniseries Shaka Zulu, which he directed." Isn't that... aren't we fortunate that this has happened, and so I can explain this song? And that's why I'm playing the whole song, because this is a very personal song, but it's also, again, a great pop-oriented song. And yeah, I say, sit back and listen to the great songwriting. I love hearing about, it's funny, I'm just covering songwriters more and more these days and talking about how good their songs are, essentially. But what I really love to hear about the relationships that they have with their family and how important it is to their growth and stuff. It's kind of emotional to me. And I think it's probably emotional to anyone on every level, whether you were happy with how you were brought up, you had problems, who knows, right? But family is where it all starts. And so, yeah, let's listen from beginning to end to this great tune, Brother by Duncan Faure. Okay, how to have so much talent in one family, right? Incredible. And like I say, it does come back to family, I think. So something special happened, and the gift, like, it's a gift to the world. Isn't that something? Like, making me a bit emotional here. So I have to move on to the next song because I always get emotional and it's a little bit silly. So what do we have next? Right. So Man of a Thousand Dreams is the next tune. So this one, the development of the song, so it starts out with a, how can I put it? It starts off with a smooth rhythm, and then what he does is he's got this, it's a little bit of using silence in certain instruments in order to generate that rhythm. And you'll understand it comes early on into the song. And this is something I was talking to someone about the other day, is that like the rests in music are just as important as the notes, right? And sometimes sometimes you hear music now that doesn't even have rests in it for any instrument. Everything's going 100% all the time. But this one, this shows like this ability to play and to write with certain instruments, coming in and out in order to create that dynamic. That's what makes this song to me like a huge, huge success. So it shows another side to Duncan's songwriting. In a previous video, I talked about how he could write for multiple instruments and that sort of thing, and potentially write for even like a chamber orchestra and stuff like that, because he seems to have this knowledge of what you can and can't do. And there's certain things, like in classical music, there are certain devices they use. So you have this concept of a motif, and then you do things with that motif, and then you change it, and then you play things backwards, and then you play things upside down. Like, there's all this weird stuff. So there's that, and I think that Duncan has a grasp of that when he needs it. But like I'm saying, and this song's a little bit different. He understands the dynamics, and that's what makes this one so great. So let's listen to a portion of Man of a Thousand Dreams by Duncan Faure.
Well, don't you know that love comes when you least expect? Chasing romances you soon to forget. And in the morning, I'm already dressed up and gone. When you're sleeping in late, I get moving on. 'Cause I'm a man of 1,000 dreams at night. I don't care if it's wrong or if it's right. I'm not hurting nobody, but least of all you. So baby, turn me on to something new, something true. Well, don't you know that the days of the summer are gone, and the winter is cold, and it's time to move on. 'Cause I'm a sailor, I'm sailing the further sea. I'm not ready to sail with the tides as they be. 'Cause I'm a man of 1,000 dreams at night. I don't care if it's wrong or if it's right. I'm not hurting nobody, but least of all you. So maybe you can turn me on to something new, something true.
Okay, so our next song portion is This Is Love, This Is Real by Duncan Faure. Two things. It was late into the last video I did about Duncan that I mentioned this, and it's getting later into this one that I mentioned again, but my God, how good is his voice, right? Fantastic. Now, here's another thing, a weird perspective I have about this. When I listen to Duncan's music, it makes me think I should really go check out Paul McCartney's solo stuff, right? Because he takes some Beatles influences and expands and expands and expands and expands upon them, and you'll hear this in the next one. And I actually do not have a good collection of the solo McCartney stuff. I think I have everything the Beatles ever recorded in mono. But I do not have much of McCartney at all, and it makes me think, isn't that weird? Right? It's kind of like going back in the other direction. So I have to check that out. But check out his voice on this. Check out the songwriting. This one is a personal favorite for me. I would have to say, of everything we're hearing today, this would be the one that is my, just on a personal level, I really enjoy this one the most. Check this out. This is Love, This Is Real by Duncan Faure.
2 kisses on the ceiling from the girl last night. Another woman on the sidewalk, another 2 makes 5. 2 spirits on the ceiling, heading out to the sky. A mirrored image of a feeling, maybe you and I fly. Your heart is dancing high. Well, if you ever knew me, well, you're gonna know me now. One way or another, I'm gonna show you how I fly. And I feel this is love, this is real. Yes, I feel this is love, this is real. 3 ways I could love you when I'm deep in your heart. If there ever was a word, it was love from the start. You ride my heart, and I feel this is love, this is real. Yes, I feel this is love, this is real. And I feel this is love, this is real. Yes, I feel this is love, this is real. Another dance into midnight as we close the door now. No bitterness or heartache, it's only love now. I fly.
How about that guitar breakdown at the end? That is one of the best breakdowns. Like a lot, I'm calling it a breakdown, but this is because I come from like punk and hardcore punk and all that other stuff. Other people might say it's a solo. I don't call it that one a solo. It's a breakdown. They are breaking down everything that's going on in the song with the guitar there in a tremendous way. Probably the best I've ever heard. I can't get over it, as someone who wants to essentially write a good song one day, it's very intimidating to hear that. But it's very enjoyable. Just perfect. Everything that happens there is great. And as I said, that's my personal favorite of what we're hearing tonight. Now, in the previous video that I did, I mentioned Orange Cash Boat, which was an early band before Rabbit that Duncan was in, and how I really liked this song that Duncan wrote for them, but I didn't play it because it was on CD 2, and I have artificial restrictions on myself for no good reason. But I'm going to go out on it today because, of course I'm going to play it. This is kind of a historically important recording. So I'm quite pleased to play it. And you know what? I'm thankful that it is on the Anthology, because I wouldn't have known about this one. In the future, before I finish the show going out on this tune, there are some other CDs that I want to cover. There is a CD. It's not on CD, but there is an album that Craig Else and Duncan Faure did together, and I'm going to cover that. And I wish I had been on top of things and knew how to edit and all of that when it came out, because it is really great. But I will get that done, and it's called Nexus, and you can go on iTunes, Spotify, and Tidal and find that. But you have to look. You have to look for Duncan Faure and Craig Else on some of the platforms. It may not just show up under Duncan, right? So I will cover that. There's the whole Rock Rabbit, and there are songs that he wrote for Rabbit outside of Rock Rabbit as well, and I want to cover those. So it's going to be a while from now, but I am going to come back and go through those so that we can kind of have like a whole a set of videos that kind of explains my thoughts on all of that music, But it's going to take a little bit of time. Some of this, all of this music is new to me in the past year. Some of it I'm only catching up on now. I've got albums that are arriving of Rabbit, for example, that I didn't have. I have one of the EPs has arrived, which has I Was 11 on it, which is there are very few differences, and everyone comments this, between that version and the Bay City Rollers version that Duncan did with the Rollers. So anyway, getting back to this final song, and now I'm such an idiot that I've forgotten what the name of the song is. The song is called Girl on Her Own, and this is from Orange Cash Boat. I think it's 1972, written by Duncan, and it shows that he already had a knowledge of how bands like the Beatles and the Monkees were writing their songs, and he could do it too. And I really enjoy this song, and I almost fell over when I first heard it. So we're talking about people, some of the people that I talk about with their songwriting have been doing this for 50 years and more. Right? That's how you get to this level of some of the songs that you've heard tonight. Well, actually, tonight is not 50 years because some of these songs are a bit older. But, Nexus, for example, only came out, last year, right? Some tremendous stuff on there. I love Nexus. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. But my point is, we're going way back to 72. We're seeing the roots of everything that's going to come out afterwards. It's really incredible. I'm so glad this is on Anthology. Whoever managed to get a copy and get it onto Anthology, I really appreciate that. Have a listen, and I will see you in the future talking about some other recordings by Duncan Faure. Have a good night. Oh, and at the beginning of playing this song, I'm actually going to have a snippet that I've copied off the web to talk about this act that was passed, I think, in 1996 in the United States and how that changed radio forever and absolutely could have, in my opinion, destroyed how music was coming out of the United States and influencing the world. The greatest cultural export that the United States has to be either jazz and rock and roll. And it was difficult for this music to survive. For example, jazz was often played on Canadian radio stations, and people in the States would listen to Canadian radio stations to hear this jazz, right? Radio stations didn't want to play rock and roll, but regional hits started to make it impossible for them not to. And then in 1996, we put an end to all of this, in my opinion. The greatest cultural export of the United States was shut down by corporatization of radio stations. But let's not make this all about politics. Let's listen to some more Duncan Faure. But I will put a picture of that as we listen to this. Thanks.